Okay, so I recently got this comment on one of my videos. This lady has way too many shoes and clothes. Where is she going to put her husband's clothes when she gets remarried? I mean, wow. There is so much to unpack here. Before I jump in, I just want to say that this is not going to be an anti-dating or anti-man video. I very much enjoy men and I hang out with lots of men as friends. But I want to talk about this expectation because even after 18 years of marriage, the first question people asked me was, what kind of man could I see myself with next? I did not get divorced because I wanted to get out and find the man that I would spend the rest of my life with. I got a divorce because I didn't want to spend one more second with the man that I was already married to. There seems to be this assumption that the first thing you should do when you get out of a bad relationship is to find another one to jump right back into. And so I did what my recently divorced friends did, and I jumped on the dating apps and I started to create my profile. But something about it just did not feel right. And the more I tried to get into it and swipe left or whatever it is you're supposed to do, the more it made me feel just very depressed. And so I finally was like, what am I doing? I don't even want to be in another relationship right now. The day my divorce was finalized, I was ecstatic. I was deliriously happy. I left the courthouse and I bought myself a dozen roses and a bottle of champagne. And I was like, this feels good. This feels right. And I think the biggest reason I was not really excited about dating again is because it's 2025 and working mothers are still expected to do most of the household chores and parenting after they get home from their 8 to 5 job. And no one understands why we have no libido. And, because my husband was the breadwinner of the family, I was informed of the plans that he had after work and on the weekends, and I adjusted to accommodate him. But if I had plans, I had to request time so that he could watch my kids. And when I returned back to the house, the same pile of dishes that I had left would be there waiting for me when I reported back for duty. This definitely does not apply to every married couple out there. And there are a lot of men who make more money who still pitch in and are in the trenches doing all of the chores and parenting, even when they don't have time for it. But that was not my situation. And so all I could think about as I was on these dating apps was, am I just looking for another man to take care of? Because honestly, I do not have the energy. And so I deleted all of my dating profiles because I needed to take some time to process what I just went through and figure out who I even am and what I like to do and what I want my next steps to be without it involving anyone besides my kids. And so I decided to keep it simple and lean into the things that were actually making me feel good. And for me, that was trail running. The more time I spent in nature, on the trail, and with friends, the better I felt about myself. And so I decided to go all in on this thing that was making me feel good. And I signed up for a 6-day 120-mile trail race. When you sign up for something that requires you to put in a lot of training, it's a very selfish thing. And I decided that I deserved to have a very selfish goal. I have to tell you that I've done a lot of marathons before. And so signing up for something like this wasn't really out of my comfort zone, but I'm an introvert. So signing up to do a race that involved camping and spending 6 days with people I had never met before really was way outside of my comfort zone. But I have to tell you that that was one of the best things I did. And the reason it was important for me to do a race that was really difficult and to put myself in that situation was to prove to myself as I go into this next chapter that I can do hard things. By the end of that race, all of those strangers felt like family. And I realized that if I was going to keep building an amazing second chapter, I was going to have to step outside of my comfort zone in a lot of areas of my life. And so I decided to continue on this path of doing things that I love and seeing where it leads me. And I think I just felt like somewhere along the way, I would get tired of doing things by myself and I would get lonely and return to the dating pool. But that feeling never came. I never felt lonely. And when I started to think about the times in my life when I did actually feel lonely, It was when I was in relationships. Maybe that's because I just haven't found the right man yet, or maybe that's because I really like my life and I don't feel like I need another person to feel complete. If I want to go out to dinner or a movie, I have plenty of friends who would go with me. Not to mention my adult children are two of the coolest human beings I know, and I love to hang out with them. Lonely definitely was not what I was feeling. I think if I had to call it one word, it was freedom. In fact, after divorce, my life instantly became calmer and more predictable. I'm a pretty calm, laid-back person who doesn't get upset when things do not go according to plan. And so I do not miss tiptoeing around someone else's mood or bracing for what's coming through the door to meet me at the end of every day. I don't miss going to sleep at the same time as someone just so that they can sleep better. And when I decided to build this tiny house, I didn't have to ask anyone else to get on board with my idea. I planned this entire layout around a kitchen because that's what worked for me. I decided on every single detail in this house. The paint, the hardware, because they are what I wanted. And as it turns out, I was right to trust myself. For once in my life, I am in a house that feels 100% like me. I think one of the reasons I really love this space is because while I was planning it, I was finding myself again and I was figuring out what I actually like. It feels really good to figure out who I am again without compromising. And so being on my own again does not feel lonely. It feels like finding my true self again. And maybe that'll change one day, but right now, this is what's right for me. I built this house because I wanted to create a life that I could afford on just one income and not rely on anyone else. But even as I was planning the space, this voice came in that was like, what if something breaks? Who's gonna fix it? Probably the same person that fixed things in my marriage. Me. I was the one stripping and staining the deck. I was the one who got a power sprayer to paint my entire basement. I was the one who got up early to shovel the snow before backing out of the driveway across it. If you know, you know. And this reminded me when we were getting the house ready to sell and my husband had already moved out of the house, he said, you need to have somebody come out and look at one of the sprinkler heads that needs to be replaced. I said, okay, I can probably switch it out. And he said, no, just so you know, it's going to be really tricky. You need to hire a professional to do this for you. So I went out to take a look at it, came inside, found a YouTube video of a woman explaining exactly how to fix it, went to Lowe's to find the part that I needed, and I'm not even kidding, it was a female employee who helped me find exactly what I was looking for. I came back home and I fixed that sprinkler head all by myself for $4. You guys have seen me crawl underneath this house when I needed to fix something. You do not need a man to fix things. You need patience, a decent set of tools, and YouTube. You can do this yourself. With all of this said, I'm going to circle back around and say I am not 100% ruling out having a man in my life. I'm not saying that I'm never going to date again. My goal is to live my very best life and to do all of the things that I love to do. And if someone crosses my path while I'm doing all of the things that I love to do, great. Let's explore that. My greatest love affair might still happen. I just am not making it my entire mission in life to go out and find it. And I'm also taking a second to take a really hard look at how I lived my life before and how I might have sabotaged myself and settled for less in my marriage, in my career, with my friends. The whole point of starting a new chapter in your life should be to figure out how to maximize it and how to live your life to the fullest every moment of your life. Even if you really are the kind of person who is happier in a relationship, take a second and figure out what makes you happy without another person being involved. Because you might just find that being single is pretty great. That feels good. So to answer the question of where I'm going to put my husband's clothes when I get remarried, probably in his tiny house. I did not come all this way and do all of this work to find myself only to share half of my clothing storage. And to all of the single ladies out there who really feel like they are living their best lives when they are not in a relationship, I'm gonna need you to head to the comments and tell me more about that. How are you living your best life? What does your life look like? Because I wanna know how you are living your best life single, so I get some ideas for my own life. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.